Hey, I'm Chloé Caroline.
And I'm Shawna Patruno.
And welcome to Unwritten, an unedited podcast made for your story.
To be heard, to be shared, to be written.
Hey everyone, I'm Chloé Caroline, and welcome to Unwritten.
And I'm Shawna Patruno, and I'm so excited because we are talking about manifestation continued, and we have a very special guest. Chloé, did you want to introduce her?
I do. This is my friend, Kelly Rutherford, amazing actress. I'm sure you guys all know about her and who she is, but we met on the set of a Hallmark movie we were in together called Love, of Course, and have kind of bonded since then. Definitely similar people, and I thought you'd be the perfect person to talk about manifestation, Kelly. You and I have talked about it on our own privately many times. I really just wanted to share your story with people, kind of your take on it in general. So yeah, will you kind of tell us a little bit about kind of like maybe how you define manifestation, how you discovered it?
Yeah, I think we're always co-creating. Nobody told us that. So it's kind of like, okay, somebody finally gets you the memo and you're like, oh, I've been creating by default this whole time. I didn't realize that my thoughts and my words and my emotions have been creating my outer, inner reality. So I think a lot of it is when I was younger, my mother was kind of into this, and there was like Louise Hay and creative visualization and, all these things about the, writing affirmations and that kind of thing, and vision boards. And then I did the artist way. And so I think it was a journey that you go on, and then you learn to trust yourself. I think in the beginning you're thinking, is this really working? What is this thing? But then, it's interesting. You create a vision board and, you can put it away. And 5 years later, you look at that vision board and you're like, the girl in the picture for the thing that wasn't even what I was trying to manifest, I met. You know what I mean? So it's like literally, like it's beyond what you could even imagine. So it really is. And I think that people, when they think of manifestation, they think, oh, but it didn't happen yet, or it wasn't instant, or this. But the universe, there's a buffer time, because if every single thought we had, we created, it would be quite chaotic, right? So we need that buffer to sort of really define and really align with, is this what I want? And not sort of creating things that we don't want, right? So there's this buffer time that I think people think is their inability to manifest, when truly you need that moment.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of people focus on, well, like you said, on like a timeline, but also they're sitting in kind of like this lack mindset. And I think it's really hard for people at first to get on board with the idea that like something isn't necessarily in your reality yet, but you're acting like it is. And you kind of feel crazy for a little bit. It's like being totally broke and sitting there and being like, I'm successful, I am financially free, I am, living my dream life, like whatever it is, and actually believing it and having that energy come off, I think is the only way to attract it. But I think it's really hard for people at first to get past that, because they feel like they're lying to themselves a little bit. So I don't know, curious your thoughts on that, and maybe some tips that you have for that.
Well, it's less that we're lying to ourselves and more we've kind of been lied to, right? So we haven't really been raised with and taught sort of to connect up with our infinity and our divinity and all of this. So we've been sort of kept in a lower frequency on the planet for a long time. And a lot of information has been sort of not brought to light. So we, for better or worse, whatever, that's just kind of what's gone on. The people that are sort of have been kind of controlling the frequency. So, but when you realize this, when you sort of finally go, oh, okay, you navigate it, you learn to navigate these things. And that's sort of our Jedi training in this lifetime. And, I do believe, kind of like the women's empowerment and the lack mentality, it keeps us there. It keeps us in that frequency. So I don't think it's necessarily that there's a lack mentality, as there is sort of a
misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's more like just don't buy into it all. Like, I think that there are people that are raised with nothing around people that have supposedly this lack mentality that just like do amazing things in those. So it's just it's really sort of just focusing on what you want all day, talking about what you want all day. And, it doesn't matter what anyone else around you is creating or manifesting or their energy, just aware, you can be aware of what everyone's creating, but you realize that all that's important is what you're creating.
Yeah. I think it's being really clear too, like, on what you want, but also not putting yourself in a box necessarily either in regards to like being open to receiving what form that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think oftentimes people get stuck in that too. They're like, well, it doesn't look exactly like this, so this must not be it, when maybe it's just a building block to that thing that you've actually wanted, or maybe that is what you're supposed to be receiving instead, They're kind of shifting your perspective there a little bit.
Totally.
What techniques have you used that you use regularly in regards to manifesting?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's learning to trust yourself. So in the beginning, you don't trust that maybe this works or this concept works, or you're not sort of trusting the universe, right? So a lot of it is learning to trust yourself and trust the universe that everything that comes into your field is now a part of your manifestation. Every person, everything. So, but it takes a minute to trust this. I mean, I started a business with someone that I met. Someone introduced us, and we met twice on Zoom. She flew to LA, we met, and we started a business together. But the reason I trusted this is I was already thinking about doing this, and I was wondering how to do it and who to do it with. And I didn't know how it was going to manifest, right? I had been talking about this concept, and I was like, how do I do this? And I just kept asking for, a lot of it is, we don't ask. So it's like, if you're saying, it's like, I'd like an improvement around my health. I'd like an improvement around my finances. I would like to, be financially independent. I want to, and the more we connect up with and ask for what it is we want, the better. It's like, ignore the stuff over here, ignore the lack, like you're saying, just focus on that and realizing that everything you need. And it's not about, you have infinite sums of money in your bank account. We've been sort of locked in this, I've got to save, I've got to hoard, I've got to do all this. But that's really actually a lack mentality in itself, no matter how much money you have. So the real manifestation is the Jedi of, I need it right now, and it appears. Mm-hmm. So it's actually another level of manifestation that isn't about, okay, I want this handbag, or I want this money, or I want this, because it's not really connected to anything, is it? Like, okay, so I have some money here. I'm sitting on a pot of money. Okay, does that make me more or less secure, or more or less this or that? No. If you can manifest in the moment, and if you can say, I'd like an improvement in this, and it arrives within a buffered period of time, it doesn't matter how much money's in your bank account. You're manifesting what you need in the moment. And, because look, you could say, I want a boat, I want a private plane. Where are you going to put it all? It's like, this is the thing too. I've got like 500 handbags in my closet. Am I happy? It doesn't matter. Like, then what do you want? Then what do you, and you're co-creating from a place of, if I have everything, then what do I want?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Kelly, I actually have a question for you, and it's for the people who maybe are struggling with their circumstances, or they came from that lack upbringing that you talked about, and maybe they lost a job, or they're going through a breakup, and their physical reality is upsetting to the mind. It's upsetting to just like their spirit. What would you say to those people when they started manifesting, but their circumstances keep dragging them down?
Well, that is a great question. Great question. So the highest frequency is love. So if you're manifesting from love, that means there's a lot of healing that goes on if we've been in those dynamics, right? There's a lot of healing. So the first step is allowing the love in, allowing yourself love and healing. And that's the most abundant energy there is, because the people that manifest the most are the people that are really overflowing with love. There's no restriction, because when we're in a restrictive state, it cuts off the connection, right? So I know this sounds a little esoteric, but really it becomes about gratitude, appreciation, and the highest frequency, which is love. Obviously, I'm not talking about romantic love here. I'm talking about the overall, the frequency of love, because that's where we come from and that's where we're going. So everything else is just sort of a distraction, and it's entertainment, basically. Okay. So if you see it as, it's either you're restricting the amount of love, or you could say abundance, or you're allowing abundance and love in your life. Okay. And that is, it's more of an energy than it is about the amount of money or handbags. And this is where the part that people miss, because I could give you all those things you want and you still wouldn't be happy. So that's it, is that you could say, but so what am I lacking? You're not lacking anything. Because if I gave you all the Birkin bags and I gave you the house and I gave you this, you'd still be like, so,
it's an internal state, essentially.
And that internal state is love. So if that's turned on and that's overflowing and that's abundant, everything else becomes just fun. It's like, okay, do I really want another handbag? I don't know. Like, does it matter? Do I really need this guy or this thing or this job or this thing? You're like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty cool sitting here, like, full of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those things become entertaining and fun and a part of being in human form, because they're physical things that you can, let's say, manifest, which is the word that everyone uses, but truly it's like a video game. Mm-hmm. How many handbags can I have? How many of this? It's like a funny video game that I can see my kids play. Like, okay. And the truth is, I'm like, well, after a while, and we've been told that those are the things that make us who we are. But what makes us who we are is our ability to love, and that portal is clear. Sort of the Jedi of that is I can manifest it within minutes or days.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be in my bank account. It doesn't need to be in my closet. I can give it away. More is going to come.
Right.
I love what you said, Kelly. Essentially, I think what you're saying is you're whole and complete within yourself. So therefore, you're not wanting and needing. And then you can attract kind of anything to you because you're not in that lack mentality.
Well, because the thing you're talking about is the thing that we didn't get was the love.
Absolutely. Essentially, you're having to inner parent yourself, return that love to yourself, and then you can give that to others.
Yeah. And it's really, they talk about inner child or parent and this and that, but those also are just labels, things, right? Like our parents are portals for us to come here onto earth from where we come from. So our parents are the portal. Our mother particularly is the real portal. The dad is, obviously a part of that in a beautiful way. And we choose, if you think we choose what we need to learn, we chose these sort of adversities. It's quite empowering, because those adversities are actually what make us sort of better healers to others. And because we know the depths, we've been to the depths of emotion, right? So it's really, all it is opening up to divinity, infinity, and really allowing yourself love. It is.
No, that's so true. And just to chime in, I think like in a really simple way for people to start doing this that are in those situations, it's finding and being able to target just like little things every day that bring you joy, and it could be anything. It could be, when I go on a walk, it makes me feel good. I know that when I hang out with this person, I feel good. This type of music, like it can be the littlest things, but being able to pinpoint what brings you joy and then continuously doing that and adding more, I think every day really helps you get to that state of self-love. You know what I mean? Even when everything else is taken away, if you are able to pinpoint the things that bring you happiness, it's really easy over and over to get realigned, even when you get knocked out of it, which happens because we're human.
Mm-hmm. And, this, I completely agree, Chloe. And this whole thing about like self-care has become sort of a racket in itself, because the ultimate self-care, again, isn't outward, it's inward. So like, and what Shawna and I were talking about before this, which was, she was talking about like health and well-being as much as the outward thing of course, there's like the natural and then there's the medicinal. So we're thankful for our dermatologists, but we're also thankful for the natural products and the healthy foods and the things that really give us the sustenance that we need to feel healthy and mentally and physically healthy, right? Because so much of what we're seeing now is our diets affect our mental state, right? So all of it's connected, but so much of self-care, and it's become this catchphrase, is really going within and finding your home frequency, and your home frequency is love. So it's taking the time to go within and connect up with that home frequency. We each have it. It's different and unique for each one of us, but it's our own unique connection to infinity and love and our divinity. And we have to find that, that's the real self-care. The other things are really, again, like the handbag, like, okay, the skincare is the handbag, all of that. Not that, I mean, obviously massage and healing and all those things are really important too, and looking good and feeling good. But it starts with going within, for sure.
I love that you spoke about going within. Essentially, I really believe our society has everything backwards because everyone is trying to make themselves more beautiful or change the exterior when really it's the interior is where we're going to feel whole and complete within ourselves. So I love that you touched on that.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. It's so true because, I mean, we all know people that are physically beautiful, but their frequency and their energy isn't necessarily matched to that, right? So and boy, when you have both, whew, I mean, it's unstoppable, right? So it really is like, no matter how much external, it's like when you enter a room, it's your energy. It's your energy, because if you even look at most actors, they aren't the most beautiful people in the world, but it's their energy. They embody, they channel, they embody a certain energy, right? So, and the same with even models, even people that we would say are like, oh, this is like the ideal. If you look at them, it's who they are. It's not necessarily just outward, because you can be outwardly beautiful and yet people don't feel love coming from you. They don't feel seen by you. And it kind of puts people off in a way because they don't feel love. I mean, and really the most powerful thing in the world is our ability to give and receive love. So, and what heals all of us is that ability to give and receive love. So everything else is a distraction. Everything outwardly is a distraction. So everything you can add to that, you can become more beautiful, you can become wealthier, you can become whatever you want, right? You can have the relationship you want.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. What are some of your, I guess, favorite manifestation stories or like crazy things that have happened to you, if any, which I'm sure there has been, so...
It happens every day. It happens every single day. And the key, I believe, is the more you acknowledge it happening, the more it happens. So it's an awareness and a gratitude that you're being heard and listened to, and that you're thankful for that connection. So it's almost like the more you appreciate it and acknowledge it, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I see it everywhere. I see it. Thank you. All these things. That's really, I believe, the key to it. Is it's happening all day, but we're over here complaining, or we're over here judging, or we're over here waiting for the, whatever. When
Mercedes Benz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for James Bond to pull up in the Mercedes Benz. So yeah, it really is that. Like, it's honestly happening all day long. All day. Mm-hmm. So it's the more we appreciate it, acknowledge it, and ask for what you need. I mean, how often do you get quiet and just in your meditation say, I'm really looking for an improvement in this, or can you, I'd love to be more supported in this thing, and really think about it and feel into it and what that feels like to be supported, and what that feels like to be overflowing with love and loved, and the people around you being loving. I want to attract loving people that reflect that love to me, right? So how often do we really sit and every day ask?
Right.
I know. I think we don't because we don't think it's possible, or we came from such a lack mentality. Like you mentioned, we've been trained in that hierarchy. So we're in this lack state. So we're not asking the questions because we don't believe in the answer. And we're not in that state of gratitude for the small things because we're always looking for the big manifestations that we're expecting to come in and comparing to what so-and-so has or the way it's supposed to look. Chloé, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it comes down to, well, one, it can be slightly an ego thing too, like just getting used to being kind of uncomfortable for a second and like really, like asking or writing it down and feeling maybe undeserving of it even, especially if, just if we're talking about money specifically, if you're like really financially struggling or something, or you lose your job or whatever, and you're kind of sitting there like, well, I didn't do X, Y, and Z to get what I actually want. So why do I deserve it? Or like, whatever it is, like, I think it's really getting used to feeling uncomfortable for a while. It's not necessarily easy to start manifesting. And you really have to get used to literally saying things out loud that you normally wouldn't say or writing them out. And it's a really weird thing. And you kind of have to drop your ego for a second and be like, I don't care what it looks like. Because it is weird. It is weird at first to get used to. And also it's not just like you say it one time thing. Like for me, like every day, like at least for me specifically, like I'm journaling and writing down like, I attract me to me or people in alignment with me. I am collaborating with people that, are on the same frequency with the same, soul purpose, like things like that. And I'm writing it down like every day. And you'd think over time, some days I'm like, oh, do I really need to write it down? I wrote it down yesterday, but it's just consistency in that, which can be difficult, especially in a world where, this is happening in our schedules and everything. But I don't know, for me, I think it goes back to like finding that moment that gets you in alignment. And it can be if you can take out 10 minutes a day to do that for yourself, even on the busiest day.
So much of it is a practice. It's about practice because we've practiced the other thing for so long. It takes time to allow your nervous system, your subconscious mind to calm down enough and allow this other information in. It's because what you're really doing, Chloé, like I believe when you're writing all this, is you're just reprogramming your subconscious mind, right? So it's like the more you do it, the more your subconscious mind, your nervous system calms down. I can allow it in because it's becoming more dominant in your field than the other beliefs. So when we write affirmations, it's more like, okay, I want this to be more dominant than my other thoughts that I've been thinking for so long, right? That I've been told. So you're just reprogramming your subconscious mind, and that sometimes like with that repetition. And look, if you miss a day or you whatever, because the thing is also is that doesn't have to be rigid, because we've been told too that it has to be rigid, or I have to show up every day at this hour and it has to be at this time. And you'll get more for your money, so to speak, by doing it in the bathtub with lit candles and just closing your eyes and thinking about it, as much as you will being like hardcore, okay, I'm going to write those pages every day. So the idea is, in the beginning, yes, it's good to sort of get clarity. Like I think those pages and that writing gets you to the clarity. But then, it's so nice to sort of say, oh, it's so interesting because now I'm thinking it all day more dominantly than I'm thinking the other. So, okay, yes, I can write those pages, but now it's being woven into my new reality so much more.
Exactly. It's being able to just get yourself into that state of alignment on a regular basis. through various techniques, whatever
works, like whatever gets you there. If it's a vision board, if it's affirmations, if it's listening to sort of someone talk about it, you know, while you're driving around rather than listening to the news, you know, listen to somebody interesting like Joe Dispenza or Abraham Hicks or someone that's going to be giving you, you know, feeding your brain with good stuff. And you're now choosing what's going into your brain versus having someone choose for you what's going in.
That's a big thing too, going back to even what you were saying about diet. I mean, diet is everything, you know, it's everything you consume beyond just food or vitamins and, you know, 100% who you know, hang around, all of that stuff.
Exactly. And we're so programmed to be running away from ourselves. Like no one wants to sit in the quiet and comfortable feelings. We've been trained to not sit with ourselves. And it creates this lack state, or that we have to be busy, instead of realizing that's when the downloads come to you and that's when your intuition wakes up. But we're always looking for another movie to watch or another show. By the way, Kelly, I love your show. But what we really need to do is to find those quiet moments with going for a walk in nature, being with someone you love or your dog, and really embracing those moments instead of running from what feels uncomfortable and awkward.
It does. Yeah. And you feel too, I think oftentimes, especially somebody like for me, like I am constantly like on the go. I'm like very ADD. I have a lot of things I want to do. And so like it took a while for me to get used to like sitting still in the present moment and not feeling like even guilty about doing that. Like I should be doing something else. And that's why I think for me, what really helped at first was like, okay, every day, or, you know, for the most part, I'm going to go on a walk for, you know, an hour, or I'm going to spend 10 minutes doing this, like, and creating those, you know, rituals with yourself, whatever it is, until you get comfortable being able to like be okay in the present or be still with yourself.
So true. So well said, both of you. It's so well said, and such good points, because even if you think about your diet, it's not so much creating a new diet. It's just getting rid of the stuff that's no longer good for you, that's not good for your body, right? So like it's the same thing. It's just getting rid of, or just, you know, you know, I gave my television away. I don't watch the news. I don't listen to music. I don't watch any TV shows. And it's changed my life. I mean, honestly, you know, you used to sort of, what happens is it's really just eliminating all the distractions. It's creating the space, the quiet, for you to hear your own thoughts, to hear those downloads that you're talking about, Shawna. It's like, and it doesn't just have to be then on a meditation table. Then what happens is your whole day, because you've unplugged from all the distractions, you can hear, and you become more aware of your surroundings, your thoughts. When those miracles are happening all day, you acknowledge them, you acknowledge the coincidences, because you're not distracted by, you know, and you're not hustling anymore. You're not hustling. And, you know, we've been taught the hustle, but the hustle's a distraction too. So the real thing is to sit and invite it in, invite it. And absolutely, a lot of it is just eliminating all the distractions so that you're connected. And then you really feel if you're not connected. The minute someone turns on that music, you're like, whoa, that's a different frequency. Or somebody turns on that TV show, you're like, ooh, that's a program. Or, you know, you go by a billboard and you're like, oh, that's another program too. And you start to sort of see the world around you like you're sort of here visiting Earth. Like, okay, I'm here on Earth. And boy, this is interesting. It's interesting how what everyone's being distracted by.
Sure. And even pinpointing people that aren't good for you anymore.
Well, what happens though, but it's interesting, when you get rid of all that, they vibrate out pretty quick. Like, you know, if you stop drinking, you stop doing all the stuff that's, you know, not that I don't occasionally have to, but my point is, like, I went for a long time. I unplugged from that program too, you know? So there's sometimes you just have to sort of unplug from these different things, mm-hmm. and allow your space to be quiet, and just get rid of the distractions. You know, because then you can listen. That doesn't mean, of course, you can have your altar, your rituals. All these rituals are beautiful. They all bring us back to ourselves. Rituals are so important, right? Whatever they are, whether they're going for a walk, lighting a candle, lighting the incense, or again, maybe it's like more of a chanting song that's more whatever brings you back to you. But the difference is you become more in tune with what brings you back to you versus what's pulling you outward and distracting you and bringing your balance off. So what happens when you don't watch the news, you don't drink for a while, you don't watch TV, you don't listen to music, is you actually connect. And then when you do, you're like, okay, occasionally you want to go out and have a drink with, it becomes very special, and it becomes very like, oh, whoa, like my vibration is very different when I do this versus when I don't do this. And you really start to notice and play with that energy on the planet and that frequency on the planet. And you realize when you're being pulled away from you.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have a question. Do you have any advice, for example, just in regards to like chasing your dreams, you know, the difference between, you know, being still and receiving and being open to receiving, and then being proactive at the same time, and like kind of that balance so that you're not chasing, but you're also being proactive?
I don't believe in this chasing thing at all. You know, I believe that you get in a space of receiving, you create this space, you invite it in, and then you're guided. So you aren't, and this again takes time, because you think, oh, but I haven't heard my guidance yet. I haven't gotten my orders yet. Like, where's my download? Where's my intel? So the timing shifts, and you and I have been working with this. I mean, we've been working on a project together, and a lot of what I do is like, it doesn't feel right yet. We're not there yet. And for everyone, but why wouldn't you do this or make this call or do this? And so you start to work with the energies and trust things more. And that takes a minute, because when you've been chasing and hustling, it seems like, oh no, what did I do today? Well, even if you created the space to sit and receive, the guidance is there. It comes. And the less you're in your mind, the less you're stressed about it, it just starts appearing in your field. So without any, the effort that's made is you going within to receive. That becomes the hustle.
Sure.
That becomes everything, because then you're in a state of pure consciousness, pure manifestation, pure creation, and you're co-creating with the universe, not with all these outward things.
Right, totally.
And so that when it does come into your field, you start laughing. You're like, oh my God, I was just thinking that, like, and you're here. Like, of course you're here. That's my Jedi. That's the Jedi. I thought it, I let it go, and it showed up. And so the money does the same thing. The people do the same thing. And of course, because you didn't over-label what it was, you didn't say, well, he has to look like this, he has to have this job, he has to make this much money, he has to be from here, because that's a lot for the universe to sift through, right?
Right.
So if you're just manifesting, I want what's beautiful for me.
Right.
And I want to be, and the more you sit with that, you may have no idea what it is yet, but the more you sit and you say, I want the perfect alignment, the perfect and you don't even have to know yet. It's almost like the less labels we put on things, the less we define it sometimes, and the more we just connect up with what it feels like to be with this person, this other energy that we're drawing in.
Yeah.
You recognize the energy of that person, and it's more like, oh, that's not the energy. It becomes so less about the physical and so much more about, oh, that person's energy feels so resonant with my heart. Like, wow. So it's almost,
it's like that letting go of timelines, time frames, everything that is our past program.
It's realizing you don't have control over it too, you know, like not trying to
Well, you do have a little bit of control. It's
Right,
in the
exactly.
letting go, I think, because you are it. The funny thing is, everyone is you pushed out. Like, everyone is a form of you. The universe is literally a reflection of your inner state. So there's nothing that you can't have. So when you release it, it actually comes to you. And that's the paradox.
Yes. And it's like, what do I want more of? I mean, that's what we should be focusing on, right? And if it's like you see this beautiful woman or you want this thing, like, we've been programmed to be jealous of or think that we can't. But the truth is, the more we appreciate and say, I want more of that. I want what she's having. The more we do that, right? And we're in appreciation of it. Like my acting teacher was so brilliant. She said, you can't have what you put down. And it was such an interesting thing because the more we're in appreciation of other women and what they're manifesting or what they're creating or their beauty or their these wonderful relationships that they've created for themselves, right? It immediately, our vibration goes up. Yeah. The other thing brings our vibration very low, right? So it's all day, the exercise is what brings my vibration up and what brings it down. And we can tell, like the minute you start talking about negative things, gossiping, feeling, it immediately lowers. And so all you have to do is acknowledge it. You don't have to judge yourself because it's out there all day long challenging us, right? So our Jedi is, oh, okay, so now I have to start thinking thoughts and notice something around me that is abundant, that I can appreciate. I need to look for it, right? Because it's there, equally there, all day long to choose from. Yeah. So the idea is if all day long we're saying, oh, I love that. I want that. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that too. I love that. Oh, I love this. I love that. I love these two women I'm talking to. I love the earrings. I mean, look how gorgeous her eyeliner is. Look how pretty her hair. Look at this. Look at that. And we can acknowledge each other's beauty. If these things bring our vibration higher, right? So we don't have to worry about changing ourselves. We're not doing anything wrong. None of us are doing anything wrong. We're not. We just are working with what we know. Right. And we can be anything. And, if you think of yourself literally just walking the earth, you're just here, you're hanging out on earth, you're checking it out, and it's a buffet. Yeah. It's a buffet. Earth is like, okay. It's been Polarity Planet recently. I mean, we've been in Polarity Planet, and that's been an interesting exercise of Polarity Planet. But really, you can sort of take your attention away from Polarity Planet game that's going on, and you can sort of start to get back into appreciation. And we know that it's all energy and it's all labels, and these labels are things that lower our frequency. And so they keep labeling everyone and everything. And you have to be this and you have to be that. And they're doing with the young people. You have to choose to be this way or that way. No, you don't.
And it's just to try to get a sense of control and try to wrap our minds around it, really. Like what we don't understand.
Yeah, to separate us, actually, it's division. Division knocks us out of love frequency, which is manifestation frequency, which you've obviously touched on numerous times. So the division is judging this person is different than me, and I don't like that. And that's actually blocking your manifestation, because the more love you give is the more love you get, essentially.
Totally. And, and as women, we have a huge ability to receive. I mean, we're receivers. That's what we are. So, it's almost like the more we realize that the men, and again, this has been, the division between men and women has been really interesting, because when a woman is overflowing with love and she knows what she wants, the man is the action form of that. So the masculine is, if a woman knows what she wants and she's full of love and she's full of joy, right? The men are like, oh, this is what we want. I was talking about this in a podcast the other day about how, we get so offended when a man says, smile, you should smile, or you should do that. But what they're saying is, we need women happy and inspired because, and to give us direction. And we've been told the opposite. So that's how we work beautifully together. They're sort of the action form, And they have such power. Men are so powerful physically and so powerful in so many ways. And when we are in balance in our power, it's unstoppable. It's incredible. And we actually have really beautiful relationships, you know? But there's a polarity thing there that's been in play for a long time.
Exactly. And there's a bit of division against the sexes, obviously, because of things that have happened in the past. But sometimes the women empowerment movement, I don't find sometimes that it's the most positive because it's segregating us even more. But obviously, we have to take into account of things that have happened in the past. But when we're shining love and there's no segregation, that's really where we want to be, I think.
I do too. I mean, I think ultimately, like, feminism is women helping each other. You know, it has nothing to do with, you know, obviously there's been things in our history and that, you know, people always need to be held accountable no matter what. But it's women supporting women. And that's how we're powerful together, you know, really cool.
Yeah,
so
she's
important.
Back. Yes, yay!
I'm back.
We're like,
sorry guys, I don't.
It keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting, Chloe. It keeps it.
It does. And now I'm like black. And now okay, here we go.
You're manifesting magic. You're in and out.
I'm manifesting a new
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, where did you guys leave off?
No, I don't know. We're talking about like women empowerment and division and how we kind of have maybe a different view on all that. And...
Oh no, keep going.
No, go ahead.
Oh no. I was just gonna say, my kind of fun question is there anything, you know, in 2022 that you're really wanting to come to fruition?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always about, I mean, it's love. It sounds kind of redundant, but it's true. I think my ability to give and receive love, you know, more and more, just, and that there's that through line in all the work that I do and my relationships, and, you know, just that we kind of keep, you know, raising the vibration on the planet through that. So any of the work I'm doing, any of the connections that I make with people, that those have a through line or of that. So that's really how I, you know, look at each year is just how can I sort of take that to the, you know, and you know, and heal. I mean, continue to heal, continue to be able to tolerate more love, because I don't think we've even reached the surface of what we can channel in terms of the love on the planet. So the more each of us can hold space for that, and each of us as individuals allow ourselves to allow more love in, and we're allowing more onto the planet, because it happens through us, right? Through those codes and through that. So the more I can do that, the more the work I'm doing has a connection or that frequency, the better. And obviously as a mom and as a woman on the planet and with other women and with other, and, you know, just, I don't know, it's just more love, I think. And our ability to hold space for more love on the planet and create it and allow it in.
Me too. I'm right on board with you.
I think it's funny you said that. When all this happened, I remember something super cheesy, but I actually sat on my bed, and when COVID happened, I was like, I just want to raise the vibration of the planet. I'm like, that sounds weird, but I'm like, it's so sad and everyone's suffering so much. So it's really interesting that you said that. So.
Well, I believe that's kind of what this whole thing has been about. And it's been really necessary that things become more obvious to us. Mm-hmm. And I think they are becoming more obvious to us, what's really been going on and what the program we've been in.
Yeah.
So, and it's needed to happen, as sort of challenging as it may be to watch happen. Mm-hmm. And I believe that there are many, many people that have chosen to be on the planet right now to definitely raise the vibration on the planet. So I'm sure for you, what may have sounded funny, Shawna, is really, really what your download was, and what you're going to probably continue to get, which is, it may sound funny, because it's not necessarily, not everyone's really there yet.
Yeah.
And you're over here feeling a little weird because you may be there, like waiting, with the door open, like with the seats, like, okay, come on, everyone, let's take a seat. The party, you've created the environment, but not everyone has shown up yet. So I think we just have to keep creating the environment and the space. And even though we think things that may seem different, or some things we say may seem, most people, when you say them, go, yeah, I they may not be saying it because it's also creating a new language. It's creating there's a lot of new stuff being created as we speak. So, but we're all finding each other.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And it's person by person, right? It's like when we started this
finding
podcast,
each other.
Yeah, it's like, we're not ignorant to the fact that millions of people aren't necessarily listening to this episode at this moment, but that's not why we're doing it, because if one person listens to this and, feels related to or gets an understanding, or if it helps them tomorrow, then, it's going to affect a person that they meet and so forth, and just keep spreading. And so once again, it's not getting attached to like these expectations of, or feeling like, oh, how is it possible that I could make a difference with, in this huge world with X amount of people. But we really all can,
Yeah, and we really are all finding each other and connecting with each other and aligning. And it's, thank goodness, because I think a lot of us have felt very odd a lot of our lives and not understood why we're here.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time. Now is the time. So let's, we just keep trusting it and knowing it and keep aligning. And I think obviously you two have aligned, and thank you for inviting me
Thank you.
to connect. Yeah. And keep going with it. It's so exciting and so necessary right now, and trust it.
Absolutely. And I think enjoy it too. I think for me, it's what I always try to remember is like, as long as I'm enjoying it, like, then it's not work. It's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just another day of doing like what I love. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that too.
And raising our own frequency. Like if we're all here in the vibration of love, like that's enough, because then we all go to the people we love, and that's like kind of ripple impacted. So this experience is going to have impact on everyone that we kind of are with. So just holding that space.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Creating the space, inviting it in. Oh, I love you both so much.
Thank you.
So I love you too, Kel. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you. So nice to love you.
Keep me posted.
We will.
Love you. Okay.
All right.
Love
you,
you,
everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for being part of Unwritten. Our podcast is your podcast.
Do you want your story to be heard? Follow us on